Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Ephrata Community Church Weekly Podcast, a conversation with our pastors and leaders meant to continue encouraging you to know God, know freedom, know purpose, and make a difference.
Hey, welcome to the Ephrata Community Church Podcast. We like to take time to talk about what God did at the weekend service we just experienced, as well as talk about some things that are coming up. Joined this morning with you, Dan. It's always good to be on with you on the podcast. Welcome.
Yeah, you too, man. It's good to be here.
Did you have a good weekend this past weekend? The Ryder Cup was taking place. The Steelers won yesterday.
Absolutely.
Congratulations to you. Not
Dublin.
with that. And anyway, what is with that?
My understanding is the NFL is trying to make American football more popular in Europe and South America.
Nice.
So that's why we're seeing games there.
Okay.
Whatever.
Which is great. So the game is like 9:45 in the morning or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, we can move on to...
I don't think the global world's going to give up their football for American football, but that's my opinion.
Time will tell, I guess. And Birds won as well, which is amazing.
Who are
they? The Birds won. And hey, let's talk about Jesus though for a little bit. We we continued the bodybuilding series this past weekend. Kevin, of course, preaching. This is a weekend that has been a lot has been building up to this particular weekend for months and months. Bring Your Work to Church Day. Yeah. And so some general reflections. I'd love to hear from you. What your thoughts were as just, again, a general capturing of the weekend. I know there was a lot of anticipation for it, the significance of honoring those who are called to the marketplace and those who are the reality that we're bringing the gospel everywhere we go, and the workplace is a sacred place that God can call you to represent his love in those places as well. And so we wanted to honor the workplace and Bring Your Work to Church Day. So what's some general reflections from you? What did you see God doing in our community?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun, actually. Everything from, I think that the one experience that I expected was it would be fun to see where people, what people did to work and to honor them in that. And I'm super excited, actually, and I give our people credit. They showed up for it, and they showed out. So great participation from the community, which means that we have a fun community that actually is willing to do stuff like that. So I love that.
Could you give out an award real quick, like the best dressed kind of award?
I don't know, but there was...
Who comes to mind? Or you don't have to name drop anybody, but just...
Jason, who's one of our incredible AVL guys.
Jason Martin.
Yeah, always back there in the sound booth and doing the slides, making sure we can sing the lyrics. Oh yeah, and he's wearing his bright yellow and bright yellow vest. Yeah,
safety
vest and stuff, and that's wonderful. We had people with hard hats and safety goggles on. A lot of people drove their work vehicles.
Oh, cool.
Too. So we had a lot of contractors and a lot of contractor trucks and vans in the parking lot on Sunday morning, which is really cool to see that. People in lab coats and it was fun. It was fun. And I think, the upside to it was not only that to honor people, but, our vision to connect you to God and others. I think it did something to connect people to each other in a way that I don't think I anticipated, because people were like, oh, wait, you work there? Or, one of the things I learned was I learned people that are coworkers that I didn't know, because I saw several people across the weekend who had the same uniform on, and I was like, oh my gosh, so you all work together, and I didn't even know that. So just there was these added benefits to it, which made it a cool community experience, I think. So
and it's really awesome that people joined in to the extent that they did.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think there was a lot of power in that.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And it was fun to see, and it was a cool idea, and I'm so glad people engaged it.
Yeah. So getting to the message, I want to turn to you in just a moment to really reflect on what are some of the highlights or big moments in Kevin's message that really not just landed, but that were critical truths for us as a community church and moving forward in this faith of believing that I'm going to bring God to my workplace. And a scripture that comes to my mind is that we're transformed by the renewing of our mind.
Yep.
And Kevin's message, when he's talking about work is not a 4-letter word. Work is actually a sacred element of the human condition, of how God wired us and made us before the fall. Yep. It's not a sin. It's not a fall of man reality. And all of that, which in my mind brings me back to what are we trying to do with that type of message, is to help people perceive their work differently.
Yeah.
Not just differently, better way to say it. Perceive your work the same way that God perceives it, though, seeing it the same way that God would. That we're coming into alignment there in hopes that it brings about a transformation of the self as well as the workplace then. And so Kevin's obviously communicating some critical truths as it relates to how we ought to be perceiving what work is.
Yep.
But I want to turn it over to you. What's some general reflections or things that you take away from this weekend thinking that was a critical moment for us as a church?
Yeah, I think that it's great to have an opportunity as we're through this Shape series and talking about your heart or your passions. And it was an interesting take on it because some people, I think, in our community are passionate about what they do for work, and some people are not.
Okay.
And so for Kevin to bring a passion to what they do, because it's more than just a paycheck. And so the whole theology of work in general, meaning it's worship unto the Lord. You were created to do work. And so how great idea there, Matt, with Romans 12, like how do we change our mindset about what we do and where we spend the majority of our time? One of the things I can think of specifically when he was talking about worship and that work is worship. I don't remember his statistics, but it was incredible the amount of hours and days in a human life that you would spend at work, which is a lot, versus the number of hours or days that you would spend in your human life singing for 30 minutes once a week at church. And his point was essentially, if the only time you worship God is in a corporate setting for 30 minutes, then you have a misunderstanding of what worship is, and all of life is worship, and we spend so much of our time at work. It should be something we do unto the Lord. I thought that was significant for our community, and a great way to wrap people's mind around that. He went into the Hebrew, which was fun, and just his idea that God's command pre-fall to mankind in Genesis 2 to cultivate the earth is the same root Hebrew word as God's call to Moses at the burning bush. Go to Pharaoh, tell him, let my people go into the wilderness to worship me. And that word is in Hebrew is the same thing. And so whether we are serving God or we are serving our purpose as in our workplace, both are an act of worship. And I think that's really important. And the third thing would be the final point he had, which is that God gave us a place to occupy till he comes. And I think that giving people the understanding, like even if the work you're in right now is not, maybe it's not something you're passionate about. Maybe you're a young adult or even a teenager, or you're an adult in a transitional season and you're at a place working where you would say, this is not something I get up to do every day.
Sure.
This is something I have to do for whatever reason. God put you in that place to occupy it for a purpose, for his kingdom purpose. And it may actually, you may not be there to do the work. You may be there to connect with the people that God has you with, whatever it may be. Those things are so powerful. And even if somebody walked away with just one of those things, and I had people afterwards, I had a few conversations where people were like, I have had such a difficult time at work. My heart has been frustrated. I have been grumbling to and from work on a day-to-day basis. This message was transformative for my mindset in this season. That's a blessing. That's got to work.
Yeah, there obviously are the caveats or hey, this message is a great message, but my situation, the nuanced realities of how each of our situations can find a particular, but what about this kind of reply or experience? So I appreciate you bringing up, even if you're, this isn't the job, or you're having trouble thinking, how does me going to work at this particular place equate to worship? Or does it make it make sense, please? And, there's a lot of legitimacy to that conversation needing to be had, right? And so I'd encourage, you have connect groups, talk to your connect groups about it, like process this stuff out. And especially if you're like, man, I hear what you're saying and I understand those scriptures and I accept that as truth, but what does it look like in my particular context? I need more place to figure this out. That's a legitimate response and reaction to it. This message series actually lands really clearly in one of our Antioch, why am I drawing a blank? Values.
Yep.
Of all the English words, thank you. I know, thank you. Antioch values that we believe in the reality of a transformed life.
That's right.
And Kevin says the mark of a true believer is not what takes place on Sunday, but what happens Monday through Saturday, outside of the weekend service. And you're not going to find a message that's maybe on the nose, more relevant to what takes place outside of a weekend service than what are you doing for your job? And so what does it look like then to live out the reality of the transformed person I am in Christ, and because he's in me, I can reflect him everywhere I go. Yep. What does it look like to live out of that reality in my workplace? That's a conversation many people are probably familiar to having or familiar with the chat. There's probably a lot of people that maybe they're considering this for the first time. Yep. Or maybe they're in a new work context of which they need to re-engage that conversation again. What does it look like in this place? Because newsflash, I mean, for me personally, used to be in construction. And so you might look at it and say, well, you're a pastor now, so the context is obvious. You're doing God's work, so to speak. Yeah. So it's just like, duh, here it is. You're bringing God to the workplace. Literally, you're a pastor. I'm like, it still takes purposeful effort to every day show up to what you're tasked with and say, Lord, I want to bring your kingdom into this, because it gets dangerous. It can become dangerous if you just hit autopilot. Just be like, oh, I know the scriptures. I don't need to spend time meditating on them. I already counseled 10 other people in the same area. I'll just give them the same counsel. Mm-hmm. And like, you're totally missing how God shows up and is present with every individual. Point I'm getting at is every work context, it's appropriate to pause and say, Lord, I want to bring your kingdom into this context. Mm-hmm. And it's true for all of us. This is a message that's relevant to everyone.
Totally agree. I think you're right. And I think people will assume with pastoral ministry that it doesn't take intentionality, but I think it actually takes more intentionality now than it did, these past 13 years as a pastor than it did for 10 years as a policeman. Yeah, to be honest, for me. Right. And people may be shocked to hear that, but it's the truth. Yeah. It's a great word, and I think and it's tough. I understand. I have been in seasons where I've been at work places that were bad culturally. I was miserable, and like, God, why am I here? Sure. And so, but at the same time, for many people, that's not the case. Maybe for many people, maybe they caught up in the flow of the American ideals, which is like, work is something I have to do to be able to afford all the things I want to do. Sure. Yeah. Right. And I have to do it for a season until I can retire, and then I can finally do the things I want to do. And for people, Kevin mentioned this, and people that are retired even, hey, like, your role in doing purposeful activity as acts of worship unto the Lord shouldn't end just because a date on a calendar said you no longer have to do that. Mm-hmm. And so, he touched on that, and he didn't touch a lot on the fact that, retirement isn't really a thing in the Christian perspective, but he did enough to, have a great conversation around this idea. One of the things I love that I haven't hit on yet was just, how he talked about the fact that work gives dignity to human beings. Mm-hmm. And specifically, he talked about the difference between a handout and an opportunity. And that you can give somebody a handout, and yes, you'll feed them, but you can give people an opportunity to be able to cultivate, a way for which they can feed themselves over time, real practically. Right. And it's good to care for the poor, but it's also even better to equip the poor to be able to move out of generational poverty. Now, those are my language, not Kevin's, but that's one example. Of course. But the way that it gave human dignity to people, and he used Leviticus 23 as an example of, when you reap your fields, don't go all the way to the edge, but leave the gleanings for the poor and the sojourner among you. Why? So that they could go out and they could get food that they need, but they had a part of human dignity in it where they actually gathered it themselves. And And then he honored, I thought it was a pretty powerful part of all three services. He honored those who provide, those who are business owners and managers that actually provide work for people. Because leading people and having a small business or a large business where you employ people, it's a great honor because you are giving people the means in which they can provide for themselves and to work. And there's human dignity in giving people those opportunities. And I thought that was something, honestly, I'm not sure I've ever seen or heard happen in a church before. And I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, really cool is an understatement. Yeah, it's really amazing. Love this series again, Shape. We're talking about spiritual gifts, our experiences, our gift set, what we do for work is all these elements of who we are. And what does it mean then? How do we serve God in these particular areas? So it's been a fun series.
Yeah.
Dan, you're up this weekend. What are you going to be chatting about?
Yeah, so this weekend we're actually on the E, which is experiences.
Okay.
And how your experiences can be used from God to shape you for your good and for his glory. So if you're following along, Jim and Kevin both did S in different ways. Kevin did H this last week. And you would think, well, obviously A's next, but we wouldn't be Effort Community Church if we made it obvious.
We don't know how to spell.
We don't know how to spell. So we're still doing shape. No.
Yeah.
The way in which the pastoral staff schedules lined up, I won't spoil the surprise for you, but the pastor that was preaching on A was not available this week. So I'm up to talk about experiences. I'm super excited for the weekend. We got Family Fest coming up on Saturday. I get to bring the message both days, Saturday and Sunday. Love that opportunity. Just an honor to serve this congregation in that way. So it's going to be a good weekend.
I'm excited to hear it. Yeah. I mean, Dan, you always bring such a gift to the church in your preaching. So thank you. Awesome. Thank you as well for tuning in this week to our podcast. Look forward to connecting with you this weekend for Dan's message, as well as next week podcasts. And until then, God bless.
Hey, thanks again for joining us today. We hope that you've been encouraged by listening. You can listen to previous episodes, find additional resources, and of course, learn more about us at effortacommunitychurch.com.